back to Wizard Drip Shop. So today we're going to talk about something called muscle testing. Muscle testing is an easy thing that you can do on yourself, and it's also something that you could do on others. The first method is a single muscle test from a course called Touch for Health. It's a great resource for finding specific tests for many of the muscles of the body and being able to find if the energy is flowing through them properly. The idea of muscle testing is that here I generally don't like the term energy, but I use it once in a while. It's not specific enough for me, but if energy is flowing through a muscle, then the muscle is able to engage. It's able to engage quickly and with strength, to have tone, the ability for it to hold in place. If a muscle lacks energy, if it's off, then it has a tendency to disengage. It doesn't have tone, it can't hold in place. In Touch for Health, one of the primary muscles tested is one up here in the shoulder called Supraspinatus. And you would have your client or another person stand with their arm out fairly straight and across their chest. So basically the hand is in front of the opposite shoulder. And the idea with this test is not a resistance exercise. The word strong sometimes is used, but avoid using the word for strength. It's ability for the muscle to hold, the ability for the muscle to engage. And you can test a muscle so that you can actually assess whether the muscle is firing properly, able to again have tonus and engage and create balance in the body. Or you can test for questions or energetic system imbalances. So a lot of times using this test, you can ask a person if they maybe are allergic to specific elements, minerals, nutrients, pharmaceuticals, peanuts. You can ask the body if it wants dairy, if it wants wheat. You can get even more precise, as precise as you want. You can go from maybe, if we categorize everything as grains and we think wheat, but then maybe test for ancient grains and see if something else comes up. So again, as specific and detailed as your knowledge allows, you can get an answer. Another way of testing is by standing up. I use the word straight, but not to engage and be stiff. It's just that you are upright. And asking yourself yes, and then noticing which direction that your body moves in, either forward or backwards, and then no, and either forwards or backwards. And generally, you can assess this as even a psychological assessment, a question, because generally we're going to be moving towards things that we want and away from things that we don't. And so, as a fear test, a desire test, things like that, that's when you can ask yourself those questions. The third way of testing is basically making a loop in your fingers, and then I'll use another loop in my other hand, and I'll just ask yes, and then I can ask no. And I don't want this to be like how strong I can be. Can I say no and fight myself? It's yes, I'm just pulling enough to feel that I can resist that tug. And then if I say no, I can immediately know that my fingers aren't going to hold. So I don't, like I said, I don't try and fight it. I allow it to let go because I'm not fighting anything. I'm just feeling for whether the muscle is engaged on or if it's off. And the neat thing is you're asking your neurology. This is your central nervous system. Does your central nervous system want a certain thing? Does it not want a certain thing? Is it opposed to moving in a certain direction? Does the physiology have a response to another thing? We were talking about allergens a second ago. The physiology responds to the outside world. In the previous video, we talked about intuition. This is your physiology. Your intuition doesn't speak with language. Your intuition is speaking to the entirety of your body. It goes to your brain, and your body responds. And a muscle test is an easy thing to know how to do and test yourself. We all have dilemmas. We all have internal arguments. Should I go this way? Should I go this way? Should I do this thing? Should I do that thing? And it's asking advice of yourself. What do I want? What does my physiology, my being want? And one of the things that we have to begin to engage with is that we have to start trusting it. We need to make sure that if we ask it and it says, don't eat the chocolate cake, then don't eat the chocolate cake. It's not a reasonable machine. It's not listening to you, but I really want to eat the chocolate cake. I'm talking to myself here. I really want the chocolate cake, and I love frosting, and they put chocolate chips in it, and that makes it chocolate cake. Doesn't help. If the machine says no, trust it. Say, yeah, I know. And that builds a trust between the mind and the matter, the mind and the body. And we want that trust. We need to engage the body as a thing to be able to trust in, so that it can bring us its gifts and its talents. You know, these are powerful machines, and we are barely scratching the surface of what they can do. And again, this is a very simple technique, but it can, answer your questions. Now, something that I notice in human psychology is the human endeavor. We kind of fall into traps sometimes where we might start to rely on a system. I see it with people who have used tarot cards or pendulums or some other sort of, I'll use the word scrying device. They get an answer, but now they want another answer, and then another, and what should I do here? What should I do here? And it becomes a cycle of distrust. We're not trusting the flow of ourselves in the cosmos. We're looking for all of the details because we don't trust that we're in flow. And so we're always looking for guidance. And sometimes we use those vehicles as a crutch. And so don't use this as a crutch, but definitely use it to solve some of your problems. And honestly, use it for allergens, because it's your machine. This is your life. If you believe that maybe dairy creates mucus, slows you down, makes you sluggish, which is what dairy should do in bodies, and if your body can't cope with that, and you don't know yet, then ask it. I've seen people muscle test either with the arm thing and another person going into the grocery store, holding the object up against the thymus. I've seen people hold peanuts. I've seen people hold wheat. Even this is where things start touching on voodoo, but it is what it is. I've seen people hold pictures of things. Now, it's really not voodoo because the mind creates a representation. And so when you look at an image, well, honestly, everything that you experience is a representation, that an image of a thing is no different. And so you're creating the image and you're responding to that image. And so you get an answer. I've also seen where people test for other people. And it works best when there's a familial bond, when it's like a parent and a child. And this is where, let's say you're dealing with an infant, and you don't know whether the infant is maybe allergic to something in a formula, or they're getting to start to eat, and maybe you're looking for the right foods for them, and again, looking for the right foods versus the what's not harmful. Is feeding a child a specific type of nutrient going to help them in a certain way? Finding that in foods might be something that you start looking for. And again, as a parent, you can test for the child. You have an empathic bond. Again, in your head, you are bonded with this being, this child, this life form, in a way that no two other people can ever be, because you're the parent. And so that internal mechanism is a bond. And so you can test for your children, which is just kind of cool. And again, it's just a neat tool to have. When your children get old enough, and I would say as soon as they can start to hold, maybe 7, 6, 7, 5. I'm not saying children can't hold. I'm saying that you've also kind of got to reason the process out. Does the child know what's being asked of them? Might not interfere because you're asking, again, the physiology, not the child's mind. And like you, I mean, when you ask yourself questions, you're not asking your thinking process, you're asking your physiological processes. And so, again, if the mind jumps in, if the mind gets in the way and says, but I really want it, well, then your body might stop telling you what it thinks, and it might start telling you what it wants you to hear. And that's not what you want. You want an honest communication from mind to body. And so listen to it. So, yeah. That's it on this one. Muscle testing, it's a simple thing. Fingers ask yes, no. Do I want to go to sleep right now? I do. So I'm going to shut this off and go to bed. And so have a good night. Have a great day. And if you like the work I'm doing, if you like what's coming out, put a like, put a follow, listen to more. You can find me. It's a wizardsworkshop.com, and I'm producing materials that are up for sale, and I'm putting it out there. The world is different, and so this is a way for me to take what I know, to share it with as many people as possible in an attempt to maintain life well. Thank you. And yeah, thanks for watching. All right. Bye.